Being so glad to have all of you with us this evening. Thank you for braving the weather. I think we'll probably have a larger than normal group live streaming this evening, but it is such an honor to have you with us this evening, an honor to have Clefworks with us. So excited for the trio, and as some of you know who are deeply connected to the life of Christchurch Anglican, this will be Thomas Bauer's final harpsichord concert with us before he heads off to Rhode Island with his family for a new startup there. So I'm Andrew Rowell. I'm the rector here at Christchurch, and I just want you to feel like you're at home when you're among us. We love nights like this where we get to open up this beautiful space with which God has blessed us for beautiful music. And so we believe that all of these moments of beauty are signs and signals of the beauty of the God who made us and made us co-creators with him. So I'm going to turn it over to Jenny. So good to have Clefworks with us. And again, thank you for being here tonight.
Appreciate it. For those of you who don't know me, I am Jenny Brown, and I am with Clefworks. And our organization has been around for about 17 years now here in Montgomery. And it was founded in part by a group of friends who wanted a casual, more comfortable way to experience the wonderful musicians that we have access to in Montgomery and to bring others to our city. And it began with one of the symphony fellows. And we are so pleased because Alexi has also gone through that program. And if you're not, I know many of you are, but if you're not familiar with the Symphony's fellowship program, it is really a jewel for a city the size of Montgomery to have that caliber of musician who comes to Montgomery and they stay for 2 years. They often are teaching, and then they often form lifelong friendships here and can't get away. So we have been very blessed with the fellowship program. And again, that was part of how Clefworks started. And so we bring music into kind of untraditional spaces, make people feel at home, whether in restaurants or, in the old movie theater or at City Hall, to kind of demystify classical music and make people feel more comfortable and have access. That's one thing that we are always working on. And we also have a commitment to our Montgomery Public Schools to make sure that we bring musicians into the classroom. As budget cuts have impacted our area schools, it becomes more and more important that we take advantage of the musicians that we have and let our students see the incredible talent in our city. This is actually Music Education Week nationally, and so we are very grateful to be able to have this caliber of musician here to celebrate that. We also, I want to mention, have a free children's concert coming up at the end of October with a group of Montgomery Public School educators who are dedicated to both music and education. So if you want to take that flyer, those concerts are always free to children, and we try to do them throughout the city so that people can come and enjoy that wonderful, wonderful music. We're fortunate to have these guests from the Jacksonville Symphony, Jonathan and Alexi, and very grateful to Thomas who put this together. He has been a great asset, and we always enjoy his presentations. He sometimes will don a wig to look like Bach, and I can share photos later if you're interested. And he's able to pack up that harpsichord and bring it straight into the classroom. So he has a real commitment to sharing his gifts with the smallest chamber music fans. So if you don't know about Clefworks, we would love to stay connected with you through email or social media and make sure we get you on our mailing list. So without further ado, I would love to welcome our wonderful musicians.
evening. Thank you all for being here. I just want to say a word about the Baroque period of music and a little bit about the role of the harpsichord and the cello in what we're about to play. So the Baroque period is from 1600 to 1750, and that's bookended by the invention of opera by a group of Italian composers in 1600. They were called the Florentine Camerata. And then on the other end, the death of Johann Sebastian Bach in 1750. It's a period where in the early Baroque you have these two distinct styles coming out of Italy and France. And then as the period moved on, these things, they learned from each other. Things kind of molded in various other areas of Europe. We'll see some of that tonight. But with ensemble music from the period, you almost always have what's called basso continuo, or just continuo. Now this is essentially just the bass line of the music. But in that period, there was less of an emphasis on the composer deciding every last detail of how things were going to be performed. A lot of things are left up to the ensemble. And this is an example of that. You have, for instance, the piece we're about to play by the Italian composer Tommaso Albinoni is a violin sonata. So it features the violin as a solo instrument, and then you have a basso continuo, or a bass line, accompanying that instrument. In this case, we'll have Alexei on the cello playing the bass line, but I'll also be playing that same bass line on the harpsichord and improvising chords and other things in the right hand to fill in the harmonies and the texture. And so if I was a Baroque guitarist or a lutenist, I could play this piece just as well. And if Alexei brought a bassoon today or a viola da gamba, something like that, he could also play this piece just fine. But in this case, this is the sound that we've chosen. And just a word about the harpsichord. So I mentioned when the harpsichord, when you're playing continuo on an instrument where you can play chords, the chords are improvised. And that helps me to get around the limitation of this instrument. So the harpsichord is very binary. I've got a set of on-off switches. I can press a note softly, I can press the same note hard, and I get no dynamic range, right? It's just you get what you get. That's part of why the piano kind of took over, but we're not going to talk about that tonight so much. But what the improvisation, what that aspect of playing continuo grants to the performer is some freedom to be expressive despite the limitations of the instrument. So to give an example, if I have this bass line, and I want it to be sort of soft and subdued, I might do something like this. But with that same bass line, if I want it to be just a little bit bigger, I can add more notes. And so one thing you can listen for in these pieces is, especially this next one, is how the harpsichord and the cello are interacting to support what the violin's doing. Without further ado, here's a violin sonata in F major by Albinoni. Thanks. So for this next piece, this is written by the French composer Jean-Baptiste Barrière. What's interesting about this, so I mentioned those two styles, the French and the Italian Baroque, in the early period. So this is one of the few French Baroque pieces written specifically for the cello, and there's a reason for that. The French didn't really think much of the cello for a long time. They saw the whole violin family of instruments as sort of folksy, and they felt that they were above that. They focused on the viola da gamba. That was the regal instrument for the French in the early Baroque. And so what's interesting with this composer, he was a French cellist. That was his specialty. He wrote 6 books of cello sonatas. He wrote 1 book of harpsichord pieces. They're all just very lovely, worth checking out. In this case, we have been sort of on the continuo team. We're going to split apart for this. So now Alexei will have the solo line in the cello, and I'll be playing the basso continuo part in the harpsichord. So I hope you enjoy. So there it goes. The vast majority of these cello sonatas by Verrier were for continuo and solo cello. A lot of times you'll see them played by just two cellists, sometimes a cellist and a harpsichordist and another cellist. This is one of his few true trio sonatas. So in this case, we each have our own line. I'll be playing the basso continuo line. Alexei has the middle voice, and then the violin will have that upper voice, all doing kind of their own thing together.
So the last piece on the program, this was not our decision, that was Tom's decision that he's not playing in the last piece. This is a very famous Passacaglia. It's originally written by Handel, but it's quite rearranged by Norwegian composer Mr. Halvorsen. He wrote a lot of compositions, but the most famous ones are the arrangements of the Handel's Passacaglia and the Sarabande con Variazioni. He originally, Handel wrote it for the keyboard, and it ended in a sad G minor key, so he upgraded it to a Picardy third at the end, to a very happy G major resolution. And although he reduced the number of variations, because originally it was 15, he reduces to 12, but he actually extended the duration of the entire piece. So this is the Handel Halvorsen's Passacaglia for originally violin and viola, but not just because I'm a cello player. It's more common, and it sounds better with violin and cello.
get to be up close and personal. And one thing the students always recognize is what a visual art form it is as well. It's such a gift to be able to see you perform like this. And we also often talk about the communication skills, so that was really evident as well. We can't thank you enough. That was beautiful. I'd also like to welcome one of the people who founded Clefworks to close us out tonight. We really appreciate you all coming out and making such an effort on a difficult day to be here, and I hope it paid off for you. Thank you, Lister, for closing us out.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you for your leadership at Clefworks these many years. It's probably been a couple of decades or so since we started Clefworks. It's been a while. But unfortunately, we're losing Thomas Bowers, who has been our organist and choir director, choir master maybe, here at Christchurch Anglican for about a decade or so. And we'll miss you and Kelly and the children very, very much. These two musicians that you brought with us tonight are just wonderful. I bet you never thought you would be moved so much by Baroque music. Yes. I got to talk about Thomas a little bit as I tell him goodbye. He's not just a talented musician and vocalist at times, but he's quite the bicycle mechanic. He and I both bike. And a keyboard mechanic. You may remember one time when our child, Lucy, dropped an iPhone into the inner workings of our Steinway piano in our home, and we were panic-stricken. This is your iPhone. You've got to have your iPhone. You can't live without it. So I called Thomas. He came over. He took it apart, the piano, retrieved the iPhone. So he does a wonderful job at mechanics as well as music. But thank you, Thomas, for joining the Clefworks organization, collaborating with these wonderful musicians, and working with Jenny and some of the other members of this organization, and we will miss you very much. Thank all three of you for the joy and beauty you have brought to us tonight in the form of your music. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, that's right.